Okay, this is Orlando Wilson, and what I want to talk to you about in this video is the issues of working alone over the issues of working with a team, a large team. Now, to me, large protection teams work for government agencies if they're looking after presidents, prime ministers, high-profile people, etc. They don't work too much in the commercial close protection world. One, they draw too much attention, and two, from a practical point of view, they're going to cost the clients a lot of money. Do the math. If you see these large protection teams, do the math for the daily wages of the guys, the car rentals, etc., etc., etc. I'll tell you this for a fact. Most high worth net individuals, celebrities, etc., are not going to be using multiple protection people. They might use them when they need them, but they're not going to have full CP teams on standby. Some wealthy people do, mainly residential security, and then they'll have a BG and a driver with them, maybe, but that's about it. As I said in other videos, if you're moving around with a client with a large CP team, it's going to draw too much attention. Anyway, I've seen and heard too much BS on social media about how you can't work by yourself. Well, I've worked by myself plenty. And again, I know plenty of other people who work by themselves on a daily basis. It's all about identifying the threats and managing the threats, not getting involved in confrontations. But this is where a lot of people think the close protection business is about getting involved in confrontations, about using force. Don't want to do it. You can think that way if you're in the military or police. Well, you can't really these days, because you'll just end up in too much trouble. You end up causing too much trouble. In the civilian world, if you cause issues, get into fights, get into shootings, well, if you're licensed, which you have to be in most places, your security licenses will be suspended, your firearms licenses will be suspended until the investigation is done, and hopefully you'll get your licenses back. So from the practical point of view, we want to avoid the problems, because if we get involved in problems, we're losing our licenses and we can't work, earn money, etc. Now, I'll talk something about what we can class as roofs, which I'll talk more about in other videos because it can be a little bit complicated. Let me put it to you this way. Years ago, I had a job, was offered a job in Eastern Europe, Far Eastern Russia at the time, during the crazy days. I met with some guys in London. I was young, too young for what I was doing, but had very good guides at the time. I've been lucky, I had very good guides over the years. I wouldn't say the most polite and nicest people, but they were good to me because they pointed me in the right direction. Anyway, I met with these two bankers in London. They had an issue in Far Eastern Russia with a government official, very prominent government official. And they needed to go there and they were going to pay him off. Well, they can't pay people off, they were going to sort out a business arrangement. Anyway, they asked me if we could provide them with protection, with bodyguards. At that time, I could have clicked my fingers and had a team of guys ready to go in London to fly to Russia to go and protect these guys. They weren't worried about money, they were worried about their security. Okay. But in reality, could the guys I provided them with actually protect them? The answer is no. When I bounced this off my associates in Eastern Europe, they said to me, it's like, well, we can provide you with the top guys in that area to support. Top guys would have been the Alpha detachment in that area. Okay, no worries. But the thing is, those guys will be working for the government official. They're not going to be working for us. Even though we're paying them, they'll be working for the government official. Why? Because they live in that area. Their families are in that area. They're dependent on their job. We're just foreigners turning up. And foreigners turning up that's already got an issue with their boss. So I could have sent in four guys from UK, whatever. What good would they have been? Nothing. The government official would have got word these bankers were turning up with security, and they could have had the jail cells waiting for the security as they got off the plane. They could have been arrested for anything. Why? Because this politician controlled the police, controlled the jails, controlled everything. We would be in his area. So the guys could have been arrested for weapons charges that happened to be planted on them, sexual assaults that happened to happen, and there would have been witnesses and evidence, I guarantee, because if somebody controls the police, they control the courts, they can do what they want. And this is how things work in a lot of countries. So these are the type of things you need to consider if you're providing serious protection services and just not goons in suits. These guys could have ended up being thrown, the security guys could have ended up being thrown in jail. The jailers could have told the prisoners, well, these are your special forces semen depositories. If you want to use them, help yourself. Nobody's going to say a word about it. And all this could have been done just as an example to the bankers to say, you know what, just because you don't trust us and you're acting like spoiled children, the fee for solving your problem has just doubled. If not, you can join your special forces protectors in jail and also become semen depositories. That's a nice story. If we put it into context, and I've written about this somewhere, let's say you're in Mexico. A four-man CP team, be it armed or unarmed, drives into a cartel roadblock. Okay, what are they going to do? Cartel's got plenty of guns, bigger guns than you. You get involved in a shooting, chances are everybody's going to get killed. For what? If they start asking questions, who are you, what are you doing? What are you going to tell them? Oh, we're special forces, we're here to protect somebody. Yeah, if you're lucky, they'll just kill you quickly and take your weapons. If you're unlucky, you'll die slowly. Again, in most places it's illegal for foreigners to carry firearms. So what's four guys going to do unarmed if they drive into a narco roadblock? Nothing. That's it. Just be executed for being suspicious. That's it. So again, in both of those situations, you're better off having somebody that's a little bit wise. I say for the Latin American thing, the narco thing, somebody that understands the culture, that can crack a joke and maybe give a case of beer or two to keep people happy. In the Russian example, you need somebody that knows the culture, understands the situation, has inside information, and have to ensure that the business deal goes good. Going in acting like a tough guy with how many bodyguards, etc., trying to intimidate people, you know what? That might work in the movies. It might work in theory. You might think you're a tough guy, but in reality, it doesn't mean anything. Because, how can I put it? Hurting people is very easy. And there's a lot of people that hurt people on a regular basis for their business. And if you think that you can intimidate somebody just by supplying some bodyguards, CP guys, whatever you want to call yourself, you're stupid. Because if you're dealing with players, they've always got, they're going to have more serious responses to yours. So that little story, I hope, makes sense to you. I've got 3 books on Amazon reference, close protection specifically. Reach out to me on social media if you've got any questions. And keep it real. If you've got any common sense, think about what people are telling you and think about the consequences of whatever you do. Because in the close protection business, if you're dealing with serious jobs, you have to take the consequences into consideration, because if you don't, you can end up seriously hurt, or you can end up in a lot of trouble. And you know what? Nobody's coming to help you, and you're not going to have enough money to bail yourself out one way or the other. So keep it real and stay safe.